So the one and only Sir Mark Todd is in Scotland ahead of his masterclass on Thursday night at SNEC, and I was really lucky to get to go and meet him last night and ask him some of your questions.
Gosh, that's a difficult one. I have to say, one of my best rides around Badminton was on Charisma, one of the times I rode him there. So I now have another little horse who I think could be the next Charisma.
Okay.
He's not quite at 4-star level yet, but maybe he'll give me another exciting ride around there.
One day, perfect. What's his name?
His name is McLaren.
Okay, we'll look out for him.
My favourite event is probably Burghley. It's sort of between Badminton and Burghley, but Burghley comes at the end of the year. It's such a magical place, Burghley, with the house there, and the park and everything is really stunning. It's a lovely time of year. It has a nice friendly atmosphere, and I've been fortunate enough to have quite a bit of success there.
Good.
There isn't such a thing as a normal day because they're all different. During the season, we've got all the horses in. I normally don't start riding till about 8,
Okay.
and then I just work through, depending on what the horses are doing that particular day. I try and get all the horses worked by sort of 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the afternoon can be taken up doing any number of different things, from doing stuff around the farm, doing office work, and doing other jobs or whatever. But you know, there is no such thing really as a normal day.
Does it? No.
Well, when I was at school, which was a rather long time ago, I was quite good at athletics, so there was a possibility of having an athletics career, but horses really were always my passion, so that wasn't really an option. I was going to be a farmer and started off in that career, and horses were going to be just a hobby, but fortunately or unfortunately the horses sort of took over, and after a stint of dairy farming, I then became full-time horses. It's a combination of things really, and I think the perfect horse is yet to be found. Okay. So it's a matter of what you can live with. Conformation, especially for an event horse, is particularly important because you know the tests they have to go through is particularly rigorous on them, particularly their limbs. Temperament is very, very important as well. Having said that, I have had a couple of near nutters that I've ridden, but I try to avoid those. And basically, attitude is as well. You know, they've got to want to do it, because you certainly can't force them to do it.
No, absolutely.
Getting started in sport, I mean, it depends a little bit on your circumstances, and it's certainly not that easy these days. But you know, I think finding somebody reliable and trustworthy that can give you advice, finding the right horse for the level of rider is very important in the beginning, because if you start off with a bad horse, it can give you a bad experience. And you know, as much as we all love horses, there are good horses and there are not so good horses. And if you have a not so good horse, it can make your life quite difficult. And you know, if you're feeding one, you might as well feed a good one. But sometimes it's quite difficult if you're starting off to know what's a good one and what's not a good one, and whether the way it's behaving is your fault or not your fault or whatever. So finding somebody, as I say, reliable and sensible who can give you good advice.
Yeah.
You know, at this stage it's fairly easy to say, and that was Charisma. You know, he was a horse that took me from nothing to, you know, the horse called Southern Comfort did win badminton for me, but then Charisma went on and won 2 Olympic gold medals. And he's probably the horse that I'm most associated with, yeah.
That was a challenging question, yeah.
Yeah, it is actually. Have I got any exercises?
Mm-hmm.
I think probably the best thing, you know, at 9 years old that you can do is to just practice over poles on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes back to your flat work and being able to keep a rhythm in the canter and your flat work. And the most difficult thing about keeping a rhythm is being able to adjust the canter as well, being able to shorten or lengthen the stride. And then it becomes much easier to keep a rhythm and certainly to find a distance. But I think when you can canter over poles on the ground and keep a rhythm, then you're starting to get there.
Absolutely.
Pony, does that mean pony or horse?
Yeah, horse will do.
Well, I guess Charisma again, when he was pretty cheeky. Yeah, and he was an amazing character and a very strong character, and we had some real ding-dong arguments too. And I remember sort of both of us coming out of the school sometimes. He'd have his eyes red and flaming, and I'd be sort of having steam coming out my ears, and neither of us had particularly won. But he was such a cool customer and such a great personality, and he loved people, and it was amazing. In New Zealand, when he retired, he did a tour around New Zealand, and he was so good with handicapped kids and everything. He was really gentle with them. And then, you know, he wasn't beyond the likes of Sandra Low Mitchell riding him and bolting with it.
Really? We'll hear about that later.
Carl says we don't underestimate him.
Leave them in the field as long as possible.
Turn them away. Good shout.
No, I think, you know, once the horses come in, I mean, I actually don't like turning horses out in the field because it drives me mad when I see them galloping around and ploughing the fields up, and then you have nothing left in the spring. So we're fortunate enough to have a big walker.
Okay.
So they'll get exercised, they'll go on the walker, or even if it's a reasonable day, they might go out and be turned out in the lunge pen or in the arena, just so they can, so they're not locked in their stables 24 or 23 hours of the day.
Great. Perfect.
The event itself is being run by Sandra Low Mitchell from Balcormo Stud. So we caught up with her too, asked her a few questions, tried to find out what was happening on the night, though she didn't really tell us very much, so you will have to go to find out. So we'll caught up with her, have a wee listen to what she told us, and I'll put the link to be able to buy tickets in this message.
Sandra Low Mitchell.
Over here.
Okay, what can we expect on Thursday night? What's happening?
If I tell you that, I need to shoot you.
Go to your hut. We'll do that later.
A little bit of everything.
Okay.
Nothing's pre-organised, nothing's pre-planned. It's
Okay.
off the cuff. We have a bunch of really nice horses to take, so anything could happen.
There you go. Perfect. So we're going to be seeing some of your homebred horses, presumably. Is that
Mostly homebred. I think
Okay.
there's two that aren't homebred, but mostly are homebred. Yep, quite some experience, some a little bit more experience. A mixture.
Okay. Excellent. So when you are breeding, then what kind of thing? What goes into that thought process of breeding? When you,
Do you know what? It doesn't matter how much you think about it.
Right.
It's unpredictable. We have quite a few families that have a gelding that may be there on Thursday. He's 5-year-old, he's 17.3. His full sister's 4-year-old, she's 16 hands. So there's no point in thinking about it too much. You try and match up the best that you think the stallion to match the mare. But after that, it's a little bit of a lottery.
Yeah, indeed. So what are you looking for? The horses that you say you come here and you're saying they're all for sale. What makes you keep the horse? What are you looking for you?
I've one mare at the minute that I'd quite like to keep, only because I've bred her, I've done her. Her mother actually broke its leg in the field, and it was a really good mare. Although I never broke it in, because when I bought it on a video, it was a complete witch when it came home. I never broke it in, I just bred from it, but she was very talented. And this mare's a lovely mare, and normally I would say yeah, they're all for sale, but because I'm getting a bit older now, I think maybe I'll just keep this one.
Why? What about her?
She's special. She's special. I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
Special.
That's a great interview. Thanks for
having said that, numerous people have asked me what is she for sale. I never say no, they're not for sale, because
they all are.
Something will happen to them the next day if you say they're not for sale. But I would either like her see her go to somebody that'll give her the chance to go the whole way, or I might just keep her and breed from her. I don't know.
Will she be ready for Tokyo?
Yeah. When's that? 2020. You can tell me that on Friday.
So when you're sort of bringing on these young horses, then what does their training look like? What do you do with them on a weekly basis?
No 2 weeks are the same. They do what they need to do. We're never in a hurry, which is possibly a little bit of a downside for us when we do go to sell them when they're a bit older and they're low mileage. People say, but they haven't got enough done. But for me, they'll last another 10 years at the other end of it. You know, like they're never pushed, and you know, their bones, their muscles, nothing's really ready, I don't think, until they're 7 or 8 year old. So all these 4-year-old, 5-year-old classes for me,
not interested.
Not really interested. We do the Highland Show one because it's fairly straightforward. It's a nice outing for them. Yeah. But there's so much pressure put on 4 and 5-year-olds now, and they're jumping big and going fast and galloping around, and then where are they when they're 10? They're nowhere, you know. So ours are a little bit the opposite, which I've just had Australian clients here and they said, one horse is 10-year-old, he's maybe too old, but he'll go far further on the other end of it. You know, Hopes Are High was an example for me. He was did a lot as a young horse. He was at the World Games when he was 8, and then he broke his pedal bone. And he was off for a few years, and then I was lucky enough to I swapped him for a bottle of brandy and a bottle of whiskey. I got him back when he was 16, rebuilt him, and he went till he was 21. But you know, he possibly did a lot as a young horse, which didn't help too much. I don't really approve of all the age group stuff. It's too much pressure for them.
Okay. Who was your favourite horse of all the ones you've had?
I try not to have a favourite, but Hopes Are High. I always say don't step into the same river twice. But if he can pass in the river again, I would have taken him out, and I was lucky enough to get him back the second time. But yeah, he was special. He was intelligent. He was easy. He was talented. He was good. He was good.
Which horses will we see on Thursday night?
We have a mixture from some 5-year-olds, a couple that have done a bit more. My Princess Emily.
Oh, she's coming.
She's coming.
Excellent.
She's coming.
And will you be riding, or is it all Mark?
No, I don't do public riding.
What's that, Sandra?
Public falling off.
I did public falling off, yeah. Yeah, no, Emily will be there. She will be there. She's the princess. Hope she behaves. She's never been at SNEC before, and it's a really spooky place for some reason. I don't know why. I did mean to take her last Wednesday night, but it didn't happen. The cafe's actually shut now with a coffee machine that goes brilliant, so they don't get so scared. But no, she's fine. She'll be fine.
Good. Okay. So, why? Look at the camera. Tell us why should we come? Why should we book our tickets?
We need the money. You edit that bit.
Maybe not.
Because I think you'll learn a lot, and it's educational. It's entertaining. It's a long old winter coming ahead of you now to sit and watch bloody soap shows. You may as well go and see the real thing.
Sounds good. Sold.
It's sure to be a fantastic night on Thursday, so please come along, book your tickets, the link is in the message above, and come along and say hi. I'll be there on the night, filming and vlogging. I would love to speak to some of you after the event to hear what you thought of it, so if you see me loitering, please come and say hi and we'll get you included in the video.